Yo, what is going on, guys? Dr. Schwaz here. Welcome back to another Gears 5 tutorial. Today I'm going to be discussing the Veteran class in Horde and Escape. The class description states the following: a one-man army. The Veteran is a powerful rifle class focused on the fundamentals of cover-based combat. So the Veteran's ultimate ability is Living Legend, which automatically fires at the heads of enemies in sight. Any allies in cover with you will do the same. This is a great ultimate as it can wipe out an entire horde wave for large runs of escape hives rather efficiently. The Veteran's passive ability is that they take no damage during executions. This is a super useful passive to have because it allows the Veteran to chainsaw, retrocharge, or DBNO execute enemies and maintain immortality while doing so, thus helping your squad stay alive by keeping enemies like Jewies and Sires away from your teammates. In Horde, the Veteran, or formerly Marcus's class, is a great support class to bring, as the class's ability to share his ultimate with his teammates as long as they are in cover with him. Teammates that sit in the Veteran's ultimate get to enjoy the automatic headshot fire as well, and gain some damage resistance as well. In Escape, the Veteran can be convenient to bring on some hives as long as there's a Lancer or Assault Rifle present. Once you get your hands on one of those weapons, the Veteran can certainly hold their own in Escape for sure. With all that said, let's move on to the Veteran skill cards. Alrighty guys, Band of Brothers. Living Legend generates 150 HP stim per second for you and allies taking cover inside its radius. This skill card is where the Veteran gets his stim from. Once it's level 6, the card provides you and allies within the ult radius 150 HP stim per second for about 6 to 7 seconds until the stim reaches a maximum capacity level. One thing to keep in mind is that you have to be at full health for the stim to start accumulating. On higher difficulties, this is definitely a skill card I like to bring for Horde and Escape because having extra stim is always nice to have. Headshot Master, 60% extra headshot or weak point damage. This is a basic damage buff card I like to run in Horde and Escape as it increases the Veteran's overall DPS. Extra critical damage is nice to have, especially during boss waves, because the Veteran can strictly focus on the weaker areas of like the Snatcher, like the underbelly, or the Matriarch's back area to eliminate those enemies even faster. Great card to have for sure. Focus, ultimate duration increased by 100%. This card increases the Veteran's ultimate duration from 20 seconds to 40 seconds, level 6. Back in earlier operations, the Veteran's ultimate used to be able to last full Horde games, granted that the Marcus player kept his damage up. Now that it's only 40 seconds, it's still plenty of time to deal lots of damage and wipe out a Horde wave or sections of an escape hive. I like to pair this card with the other damage cards this class offers, and even brutal efficiency to allow the Veteran to regain his ultimate and utilize it as much as possible. Moving on to brutal efficiency, executions reduce cooldown time for Living Legend by 40 seconds. I like to run this card because it allows the Veteran to get their ult faster. The Veteran's ult charge time is 5 minutes, so at level 6 it's going to take you about 6 or 7 executions to recharge the ultimate to full. I find the skill card essential in Escape since you spawn with no ult progress and you can execute enemies without the need of a weapon, so you can quickly get your ult back that way. In Horde, it's really handy to have this as well, as there are plenty of drone type enemies that you can execute via chainsaw, retrocharge, or melee combo. Custom Lancer, increased damage 60% and active effects by 30% when firing any type of Lancer. This is a great DPS card to run in Horde, especially since the Veteran spawns with a Lancer. I like to obtain a Retro Lancer from a teammate or a Locust hybrid and use it during the ultimate, since it does great damage and headshots enemies across the map without them having to go down. During the time between the next ultimate, I like to use the Lancer GL rockets, since that seems pretty effective in helping recharge my ult back for the next use. Great card for Horde and situational escape as long as the hive has a Lancer somewhere in it. Moving on to defensive stim, 110% increased stim capacity. So this card increases the stim capacity that the Band of Brothers card provides. To take full advantage of this card, it takes roughly 20 seconds of stim building via this Band of Brothers card to obtain the maximum stim level. So the Veteran can be pretty tanky once he reaches this level of stim, but since it takes so long of staying in cover, undetected, and not taking any damage to get this extra stim and enjoy the full use of this card, I think there are some other health and resistance cards that are better equipped for this class's survival on high difficulties. Flankum, 115% additional ballistic damage when attacking from the side or behind. This is a good skill card to bring in your Horde matches, especially if you have teammates set up in different areas of the map, making it easier to shoot enemies from the side or back. Since they added the Lambent enemy set to Horde recently in Gears 5, this card is a lot more valuable now. Regular Locust and Swarm enemies like Scions and drones builds tend to sometimes spawn backwards to fight the Lambent enemies, allowing the veteran to take advantage of this card. For escape, the skill card is highly situational, since only a few classes like the Blade Master, Brawler, and Nomad have the ability to redirect attention away from themselves. Alright guys, last ditch, 90% increased damage when at less than 80% health. This card is awesome when under heavy fire on ways like boss ways to give the class a significant but temporary damage boost. Since it relies on the veteran being at under 80% health, I recommend not using a stim-based skill card like Band of Brothers, since that will lower the chances that the veteran is actually below that threshold of health, rendering this card inactive. So this is a great skill card that works in synergy with Custom Lancer and Headshot Master to make the veteran as powerful as possible. Dug In, all damage reduced by 60% while in cover. This is a great skill card to bring into your Horde runs to keep the veteran on their feet to continue being an effective damage dealer. Since the class is heavily based on cover-based combat, the 60% damage resistance in cover is a beautiful thing to have. Even better yet, once the veteran activates the ultimate, the class already has an extra 30% damage resistance during the ult duration, so you'd be surprised what kind of bullets you can sponge with this card, even on master difficulty. Definitely a card worth trying out for sure. I think it's pretty underrated. Alrighty guys, moving on to explosive resistance. All damage from explosives is reduced by 32%. This is a super situational skill card that can serve as a beginner skill card for players that are first leveling up this class. As I've said before in other tutorials, the 32% damage resistance cards aren't great standalone cards, thus I think it's best to stack damage resistance cards with each other to maximize their effectiveness. Like on a master level, 32% less damage from a salvo or a boom shot rocket or even a frag grenade is still going to down you. Otherwise, I think there are better skill cards to run than this one. Extended Rifle Mag, 115% increased assault rifle magazine capacity, including all Lancers, Hammerburst, and Enforcer. This is a solid beginner card to run if you are first leveling up this class. I could see this card potentially being useful to keep the veteran firing the rifle for a long time without having to reload. It could keep the veteran class busy and occupied dealing damage before their next ultimate is available. And on screen, you'll see the clip sizes for all the assault rifles with and without the skill card equipped. Nevertheless, when playing on higher difficulties, I think there are better skill cards to run than this one. Friendlier Fire, ability radius increased by 60%. This card is a solid card to run to increase the radius of the veteran's Living Legend. Not a skill card I typically run, but it's a solid beginner card to run as you're leveling up the class. Having a wider Living Legend range means more players are able to take cover within the veteran's ultimate and gain stim and provide extra damage to their team. As long as you can find a piece of cover suitable enough for multiple players to have a good line of sight, then this skill card can be effective. Lancer Stock, recoil on any type of Lancer reduced by 75%. This reduces the recoil when firing the Lancer GL, the Lancer, and the Retro Lancer. This card could be beneficial to you if you have trouble landing shots with any of the Lancers. However, on higher difficulties, the veteran has far more superior cards than this one, since the damage, resistance, and the stim cards are more essential for your survival on those difficulties. And as far as score boost and epic score boost is concerned, if you're running a high score run in Horde or a timed run in Escape, you can equip the score boost and epic score boost cards to help you get more Gears coins, skill cards, leaderboard times, or whatever reward you may be seeking. Alrighty guys, let's move on to my Horde and Escape builds for the veteran class. So in Horde, I like to run Focus, Headshot Master, Custom Lancer, Brutal Efficiency, and Band of Brothers. This is a great hybrid setup between maintaining high damage output, especially with the Retro Lancer, and remaining safe with a buildup of stim over time. While I like to switch things up, I'll typically swap out Brutal Efficiency or Band of Brothers for Flankum to maximize the DPS output for enemies not facing you. It's especially useful on the Lambent enemy set in Horde, since some of the Locust Swarm enemies spawn facing backwards. If you want extra tankiness, you could swap out Brutal Efficiency or defensive stim. One underrated card I like to use sometimes is Dug In instead of Band of Brothers, since I feel like damage resistance is more valuable for a class strictly based on staying in cover to be effective. The ultimate gives you plus 30% damage resistance anyway, so with the Dug In card equipped, you have up to 90% damage resistance for up to 40 seconds, which is awesome for playing on high difficulties and allowing the class to survive. Another card you could swap out in your build is Last Ditch, which nearly doubles your damage output when you're under 80% health. Just another damage card to make the veteran even more viable on master difficulty. Moving on to the escape setup, the cards I'd like to run are Focus, Brutal Efficiency, Headshot Master, Custom Lancer, and Band of Brothers. Typically it's the same stack every game, but of course the card setup will differ based on the high difficulty and the mutators. The only card I prefer to swap out is Custom Lancer for either Dug In to have extra damage resistance and cover, or swap it out for Flankum or Last Ditch for extra damage or maybe even swap out Custom Lancer for Friendly or Fire to have a wider Living Legend radius to share your ult with like a marksman so that he can wipe out large areas of enemies in the hive very easily. Since you can't obtain a Lancer GL, or a Retro Lancer from an enemy in Escape, you'll have to find them in supply rooms. But feel free to experiment with these cards to find out what setup works best for you. With all that said, let's move on to Veterans Horde Perks. Alrighty guys, so the Veterans 4 perks are Ammo Regeneration, Feedback Boost, Assault Rifle Damage, and Health. The first perk I like to level up in Horde is Ammo Regeneration, which maxes at 100%. This is essential for the veterans since the class is dependent on continuous assault rifle ammo supply to be effective. The 40-second ultimate burns through a lot of ammo, so this perk can help replenish that ammo. The ammo regen works also with other weapons that the veteran can be effective with, like the long shot and the marks as well. Feedback Boost is the next perk I like to level up. This maxes at plus 50% damage cooldown rate. This perk helps bring back the veteran's ultimate even faster based on the damage the veteran deals. I think having a long shot or a Lancer GL or even a tri-shot between ult charges works wonders by bringing the ult back as fast as possible, allowing the veteran to use his ult nearly every wave in Horde. Assault Rifle damage is what I like to perk up afterwards. This increases the base damage of your assault rifles up to a max of 50% extra damage, allowing the veteran to wipe out enemies even more efficiently and quickly. This is just a base damage buff of your Lancer GL or Retro Lancer or whatever assault rifle you may be using, so it just comes in handy on later Horde waves as it helps you take out enemies quicker. Lastly, I like to pick up the health, which maxes at plus 50% because extra health is always nice to have, right? The extra health makes the veteran even more tanky since the class already has damage resistance cards like Dug In and Explosive Resistance, or stim cards like Band of Brothers and Defensive Stim to ensure the class's survival even in the later waves of Horde. That'll pretty much wrap up the veteran tutorial, guys. Coming up, I have a short discussion on damage numbers followed by some Horde and Escape gameplay of this class. Hope you guys enjoyed and found this class tutorial helpful. Thank you so much for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace out. So one last thing I wanted to mention that a lot of players may not know is that if you have the damage number indicators on in your Gears 5 options menu, you'll notice that when you shoot enemies with bullets, the damage numbers that show up will appear in 3 colors: white, red, and yellow. So I'm going to explain what those colors mean here on screen. So if you have white damage numbers, that means that the bullets are non-active, non-critical hits. So it's a non-active shot that isn't striking a headshot area or a weak point area on an enemy. Red numbers are non-active shots that are critical hits. So these are headshot hits with precision rifles, whatever weapon that aren't inactive. So finally, the yellow damage numbers indicate a critical hit that is active. So basically, if you're playing the veteran class, you want to maximize the appearance of yellow damage numbers on your screen to be getting the maximum damage output for that weapon under those situations. Just figured I'd let you guys know about that. And once again, thank you all so much for watching. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.
You won't outsmart me. Hostile mark. Visual contact.
Looking for this.
Lambert.
Reload a little dry frag! Crowd obliterated!
Come on, get up.
Shoot for everybody! Incoming drone! Drone mark! We've got a drone! And that... Oh, shit! Let's get him, Gears! Great. Just clear. Okay. Think that's...